Good morning, and I'd like to welcome everybody to today's webinar, part of our Quality Online Course Showcase. Today is the third webinar in this series. My name is Sam Enneman in the Center for Teaching and Learning, and I will be the moderator for today's session. Just a few guidelines before we get started. If you have any questions or comments, you're welcome to type them into chat. You can also ask your questions verbally if you have a microphone, and Patti will let us know how she wants to handle questions while she's presenting. If you have any tech problems during the session, please call the IT service desk. If you're on campus, you've got the 755 number. If you're off campus, you need to call the full number. We are recording this session and we'll be sending out a link later today or tomorrow. And before we move on, could I just get everyone to type in chat where you're logging in from today, whether it's office, home, Starbucks, wherever it might be, and also what department you're in. Okay, great, thank you. So the basis for these courses, all these courses that we've been looking at in these series were designed for quality matters recognition. I'll just give a brief overview of what quality matters is, and then I will turn it over to Patti. So quality matters is a faculty-centered peer review process that certifies the quality of online course design. We know there are other elements to quality, but Quality Matters focuses just on the design, and it includes a course review that is based on their rubric. And the rubric has 8 general standards and 43 specific standards, and the review team goes through and kind of rates each one of the standards and whether you met that standard or not. And then to get the Quality Matters certification, you need to achieve at least 85%. So you don't have to be perfect. You just have to get 85% of the possible points available on the rubric. So I'd like to introduce now our guest, Dr. Patti Wilkins from Instructional Systems Technology. I won't say a lot more about Patti. She'll be introducing herself in greater detail, I think, but just to let you know that the course that she had reviewed and was EIST 5100, as you can see, Technology Integration in Education. So please, everybody, welcome Patti Wilkins.
Hi, and thank you, Sam, and welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. So my course, EIST, my course is Educational Technology, and this is a course that several people take. We have nurses that take this course, we have school administrators, and we have technology facilitators, so it's a diverse group. But I've definitely enjoyed the process here. So, you know, just thinking about online courses, how many of you teach, if you'll just do a show of hands, how many of you teach online courses? Okay, so when we take courses or when we teach courses, students, I never really thought about it from a student perspective. I've always thought about it from an instructor perspective. We just automatically assume that students are going to know what to do. This Quality Matters program really helped. Sam has talked to you a little bit about the process, but it's secular because if your course gets reviewed and then you don't pass, they actually give you feedback and they allow you to make some course revisions and resubmit it to Quality Matters. They want you to be successful. And so the people, I want to just do a shout out to the people from Center of Teaching and Learning, Garvey, Sam, Jason, Bruce, Carol, Kurt, and Mike. All of them have been very helpful. So if you all are considering going through the Quality Matters process, there is a lot of support in place at UNCC. Also, Sam has already talked to you about the 8 standards, so I just have an infographic here for you all to see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through each of the standards and tell you about what I did in my course and talk a little bit about how the students received that course. I want to talk to you about questions, though, because Sam said throughout the presentation you all might have questions. So what I'd like you to do is, you guys, if you'll hold your questions to the end, I will go through this very first part very quickly. I'll take questions, and then I'll actually go into the course itself. Okay? So Sam talked about the standards. There are actually 43 standards, and they're divided into specific groups. So you've got 21 that are essential standards. You have to earn all of those essential standards. Then you've got 14 standards that are very important, worth 2 points apiece, and then 8 standards that are valued at 1 point apiece that are important but not essential. Now, in order for you to pass, as Sam said, you needed to get at least 84 out of 99 points. And I know initially when I saw the 99, I thought, what's wrong? I didn't get 100%, but 99 is as good as you can do. So I'm going to take you through the course, and each of the standards you'll see in the yellow kind of like post-it note. That's the number of the standard, and then the name of the standard. And the way I've got this presentation set up, I've got a question that kind of leads you to each of the standards, and then I'll take you through and show you how I address the standard by using screenshots of my course. And then again at the end we'll actually go into the course. So I plan to go through the 8 standards pretty quickly. Again, some of them are essential, just the ones that I included in my class, and then I'm going to go more in depth with the standard 1. So it's the course overview, and if you've ever thought about how course designs from one class to another, it's a little different in face-to-face classes than it is in online courses. I think you'll agree. So when a student walks into a face-to-face class or a hybrid class, they automatically can understand what the teacher is expecting just by body language and things like that. But in an online course, you can't do that, and students might not be sure of where to begin. When I participated in the Quality Matters workshops, they actually let us look at other people's courses, and it was amazing how each course looks so different at the onset, and you almost went in confused. It was great to come in as a student perspective. So let's look at Standard 1. This is the course overview and introduction. So this is the overall design of the course and how it's made clear to students right from the beginning of the course. In this particular standard, I've got a little screenshot here, and I know I'll apologize to you. I know that the blue doesn't look so good on the purple, but you'll see that the essential standards are listed up at the top, and then on the right-hand side, I show you what are the things that I've placed in my course that met those standards. So many of these standards, I had several elements that I used in my course to meet the standard, but I'm only going to screenshot one of them. I hope that makes sense to you. Otherwise, we'll be here for a very long time. Okay? So the essential standards that we'll look at right now are 1.1 and 1.2. So just a screenshot. When you earn Quality Matters certification, they actually give you this nice little logo to put up at the top of your course, and so that it's kind of like our mark. In the EIST program, we're trying to get all of our courses in our fully online program Quality Matters certified, and we're progressing through that very well. Many of you might know Dr. Martin. She's also working on this. So this is the very top of my course. And in a minute, we'll go into the course, but you'll see, you don't see any navigation from this screenshot, but in a moment, you'll see that the navigation is on the very far left side, so students can only navigate on one side. I force it that way. It's a course design that I've selected. But when you look at this, you could use the text chat area, if you will. Students, I think, would know exactly where to go because of the icon that I used, the little white guy leaning up on the eye information, and then it says Getting Started link. So they're really forced to click right there. And so this really helped a lot of students, and then when they actually click on that link, it takes them to this is what the Getting Started the link looks like, and you can tell I'm still sick. Okay, so for Essential Standard 1, the instructions are made clear on how to get started and where to find the various course components. It's all right here. Standard 2, or 1.2, the learners are introduced to the purpose and the structure of the course. So it's clear how to get started and where to go, how to progress through. So they see that it's pretty much going to be a repetitive process. Each week they'll come through and they'll repeat steps 8 through 10. So steps 1 through 7 are for week 0, and I found that that has been very successful, having a week 0 where the students get used to your course. Many times, you know, you have students that join late, and so having that week 0 to allow the students to become acclimated to the class and do their introductions, get to know one another, then it just makes for a more productive class. So as you have questions, if you want to put them in the text chat area so that you can remember them for later on, Sam, you can scroll through those and ask those to me for those people that will be listening. But I'm going to go through each of the objectives. So maybe for your questions, you might want to put a 1 for any questions you have on Standard 1, a 2 for Standard 2 questions, and that might help to facilitate that. Does that make sense? Check. Okay, so if you have a question on Standard 1, you'll write a 1 in front of those questions, and Standard 2, and so on. All right, so the next part is learning objectives competency. So this part, students, you need to describe to the learners exactly what they need to do in order to complete the class successfully. This is like the foundation in which the rest of the course is based. So this is primarily the most important, I believe, the most important one of the QM standards. So at the beginning of each course, I actually have a task and objectives section. So here in front of you is just a screenshot from a week 4, and you see the tasks, and I've got the verbs typically in bold for them. But the objectives you don't see here written out, because the objectives would be objectives that are measurable so that the students know exactly how they're going to be rated. Okay, and we'll talk about that in just a minute when we talk about rubrics. Standard 3, working with assessments. The strategies are designed to evaluate student progress. So on this one in particular, I'm going to make sure that I show in the live course that when students are going through their assessments, I have an area that is a blocks area that allows the students to see if they've missed taking a test. And so this is one of the things that Center of Teaching and Learning folks had shared with me, and it was a really great thing because all of their quizzes are listed on the left-hand side in the navigation bar, quiz 1 through whatever, in each of my courses. And then they show up as gray, and the moment the students take it, it shows up green. When they miss a quiz date, it'll turn up red. And I can tell you, implementing that in my undergraduate courses especially has made students not miss as many quizzes. If they miss one, they typically don't miss another, so that's been a really good technique. For each of the standards, yes, it's called the progress bar. So for each of the standards, I have a rubric. This is a screenshot of a Standard 3 assignment. And so the students in this course have to make an e-portfolio skeleton. So very clearly on the rubric, it tells them what is needed and how many points they'll get for each of those sections. So students understand, and I don't get the questions, why did I miss a point, why did I miss 2 points, and so on. In addition to the rubrics on the assignments, I even have rubrics for the forums. And so this is something that I implemented after going through Quality Matters. Typically, the students just interact with one another and they didn't have a specific rubric. But by giving them the points associated with, so when they see best and why, they realize that they're going to get 2 points for putting that in, having a URL that works, and how they'll get their points for each, it really makes it clear. And I've actually received feedback from students saying that they really appreciated knowing the expectations of the forums. And so that was something that I would strongly encourage people to do. Instructional materials, these are really interesting. I always make sure that I have a variety of instructional materials to meet the learning objectives. So some students are more visual, some students are more auditory. So the students can actually pick and choose the instructional materials that work best for them. There are extra for students that need more help. Since I teach a fully online technology course, some of the students come in with more proficiencies than others. So some students need manual step-by-step screenshots, and so in those cases I provide manuals for those students, but everyone does not have to use those materials, and so that's one of the things that the students like. So think about your courses and what are some of the instructional materials that you use to meet your learning objectives, and they like them to be varied. Okay, so this is just a screenshot, and again, it's a little difficult for you to see this, but in Standard 4, you want to make sure that the students understand the objectives and the learning outcomes. So every Monday, I send out a letter similar to what you see here. And as a matter of fact, this morning, that's why I worked from home, because I sent out this message. And I use color coding that's very consistent each week, so the students know what happened the week prior, where we're heading this week, and then I do a screenshot of exactly what their finished product should look like. So each of the students actually had access to a sample wiki, but in this particular case, I noticed that some of the students did not request access to that wiki. And so in order for them to be successful, I wanted them to realize that this is what your ePortfolio wiki would look like. So that has helped. Providing that extra scaffolding in an online course has been very beneficial for these students. Again, with instructionals, with Standard 4, one of the things that I like to implement, if you look on the far right-hand side at the boxes, so at the bottom of each course, there are additional resources area. Is my additional resource area. I talked to you about that a little while ago. Some of the students don't need additional resources, and they pretty much, the resources that I provide at the top of the course work for them. So that's why you see these check boxes that are squares. What that means is if the students go through those, they actually have to check them off themselves. Okay? There are other boxes that are available for checking progress bar, and they're dotted lines. Have any of you ever used those in your courses? The check progress bar boxes, the dotted line boxes, the students can, right, activity completion block, the students have to actually do whatever you set it to be as the professor. So for my discussion forums, students must post one discussion and reply to 2. When they when they do their post and then they reply to that second person, the check gets put in the box for them. And so students have found that to be very beneficial, because they said that in Moodle, a lot of times they can't tell which places that they've already been. So having that check progress, that activity completion bar, helps the students. Another support system for a Standard 4. Learner engagement and interaction probably is one of my most one of the standards that I enjoy working on the most, because I think in an online course it's essential to have an environment in where the students feel comfortable with one another. So early on in the course, in week 0, I have them do introductions, get to know one another, but then throughout the course I place in a lot of activities for the students to promote active learning. So for example, there are polls in each course or at each block. So this is just an example of my assignments for one of the weeks. You see that they have to pick their EIST standard. A moment ago I told you that these students that take this course, some of them are nurses, some of them are principals, and some of them are going to be technology facilitators. So early in this week, after they learn about the EIST standards, they do this poll, and then quickly I can see each of my students in which categories they belong in. Then, when they start progressing through the semester, for example, if you look at the Tool of the Week forum, Skype forum, it's a way for the students to interact with one another. I actually have them use their Skype username as the subject line of their post, and I invite them to add one another to their Skype so that they're not just communicating with me. In the forums, I tell the students that you don't want to just communicate with other people that are in the same field as you. And this course, I think, is probably one of my favorite courses to teach because it is such a diverse group of people. The nurses learn from the instructional designers, the principals learn from the teachers, and they really, it really is a collaborative process. And so it's a pleasure to teach. The next area that I put in, it looks like a little assessment. This is a self-assessment. This is where the students are actually not receiving a grade here, but instead I ask them questions where they reflect back to the week. So some questions might be, did you select your EIST standard choice? It actually is a self-check of what they were supposed to do. And this has actually caught a few people. And one of the answers I have is, no, I didn't do it yet, but I will before the week is over. And so that's been really helpful, because sometimes, even though the course is linearly designed, the students come in and out at various times. They forget to put the check marks in there if they've done them, or sometimes they'll check off when they didn't do something, and that gets them confused. But so this weekly assessment has been good. That's just something that they communicate to me with. And then finally, the weekly reflection, it's called the weekly wit. It's what I'm thinking. They have questions that I ask them that reflect back to what they've learned. So what they've learned, how they plan to apply it, and any questions that they might still have after going through that week of work. This has been really good. This takes a lot of time. It's authentic assessment here. So each week I actually reply to all of the students one-on-one. Takes a lot of time, but I think that it builds community, and in our fully online program, it helps the students to feel more comfortable with me. Most of the times, this is the first course that they take when they enter the technology program at UNC Charlotte. And then finally, also in Standard 5, is the weekly Q&A, where the students ask questions of one another, or they'll ask questions to one another, I should say, about probably the projects that they're doing, or maybe they have a question about one of the assignments that I've given. This is an area where the students can ask for clarification at any time in the week. So perhaps it's after the Monday week in review. They have a question automatically. They can jump in there and ask a question. I strongly encourage the students to answer one another's questions, and I tell them that you get bonus points for providing answers to classmates before I get in there. And typically I'll give it a day or two and let students go in there and answer one another's questions. And so that helps them to feel like they're being collaborative with one another. Another one, again, I'm giving you a lot of screenshots, and one is that I've added is badges. Do any of you use badges? I know I've seen some workshops that were offered to some folks for badges, but these are just 3 of the badges that I have. I actually have 5 badges, and the students can earn extra credit. And one of the problems with badges is each semester you have to redo these badges. And I think that's going to be the case too if we switch over to another learning management system. But that being said, even though it is extra work on the onset, I have found the students really enjoy this. And what I do is after the students earn the badge, then in the Monday week in review, I'll say congratulations to the people that made it. The one that I like the best, even if you don't want to use badges throughout your course, is the Right Start badge. And what I do there is that's during that week 0. So those people that waited too long to come into the class, then they don't have an opportunity to earn that badge. So these are for the people that register for the class on time. They come in, they download the syllabus. You can see all of the things that I asked them to do there. And once they do that, they get the 5 points. Again, though, this is added work on the instructor. So even if you don't do a lot of badges, just having a badge in there, I've had a lot of feedback from students, graduates and undergraduates, that appreciate that. And the badging is used in different capacities. In some places you can badge up, like level up. That's not how my course is designed. This course is just designed that if you do the certain tasks, then you get the points. I was sharing with Sam something funny that happened with one of these badging activities is I've had people actually game the badges, and that, like the one of them, you don't see the badge here in front of you, but they had to, it was a student that paid attention to details, and they had to go to the objectives and standards each week. And so they actually saw that they had to click on that one link, and they just went down the whole course and clicked them all in like a day. And just to get the badge. And I was like, really? I emailed the student. I was like, really? Congratulations on the badge, but those objectives are there for you at the beginning of the week. So we got a little chuckle out of it, and they were like, I just wanted to see what it looked like to get a badge. So it's really a lot of fun. Now, the course technology, navigation is essential. You can imagine these students that take more than one online course. At the beginning of my course, I always ask students, how many courses are you taking, and are they online? Those of you that have experience in online courses, please give tips to others. And I am really surprised at the number of students that take, you know, in the EIST program, it's fully online, but even the undergraduates, they take 3 and 4 online courses, and each of their courses are designed differently, which makes it very challenging for students. And so it's essential for us to have course navigation that makes sense to students. So I'm going to use a couple of screenshots here. I'm looking at my time, and I'll make sure I allow for questions. So I'm picking up the pace, and I'll hang up on that phone call there. So my apologies. Those are telemarketers, guys. So it's something you can't handle from home, right? Okay. Apologize. So here is, I got off a little. The 2 essential standards are standards 6.1 and 6.2. So here is a poll. And so I asked the students, because most of them are taking online courses because their schedules are so varied. So I asked them how they would like to participate in an orientation. They can either pick a Wednesday night, a Sunday night. They're not available either day. They can attend either day, or they prefer to watch it in a presentation orientation. So this is where you're meeting the needs of your learners. Typically, I just forced out, okay, we're going to do SABA, and if you don't do SABA, then you're going to have to watch a recording of it. So in this case, the students didn't even want to do SABA. They just wanted me to record and watch. So the majority wins. And so I thought that this was I actually received feedback from students saying that they really appreciated the opportunity to opt out of SABA if they didn't want it. Many times students want to do this if they already know the students that are in their courses for our fully online program, whereas the undergraduate students, I've seen that in these types of polls, they want to meet faced up in the SABA session so that they can meet their classmates. So it just depends on who you're teaching. For learner support, facilitating access to instructional support, UNC Charlotte has a lot of support for us. And so providing quick links to those support can be very beneficial to students. So for example, this is 2 little screenshots from the top of my course. On the left-hand side, you see the left navigation bar. So I have a little introduction to myself, and then I say, be sure to read my introduction and in week 2 to respond there. And then the helpful links, and again, many of these go to UNC Charlotte. Those that do go to UNC Charlotte, I make sure that I put UNCC in front of them, and then those other external links that will support them throughout the course don't have UNCC in front of them. Then on the bottom right-hand side, again, the additional resource areas, the accessibility links is essential. In an online course, many times our students take our courses and they log on from various devices. They might log on from a mobile device. They might log on from a netbook, a PC, a desktop, whatever. So the students need to know the different resources that I'm using in this course. So the accessibility links here are for the tools that they use. So for example, if the student was to click accessibility links, they would see a link to Skype, a link to PBWorks, a link to Glogster, a link to any of the external resources that I use online that show them how to access that link. That's something that I never really considered. So I put this up at the top of my course in week 0 so that students realize there are certain things that you're not going to be able to do from your iPhone, certain things you're not going to be able to do from your iPad, and it's not because it's not working in the course, it's just because that device will not work with it. So I hope that makes sense. And another accessibility link, again, let me go back here. I'm trying to rush through because I'm looking at the time. I want to make sure we get to see the course and you get to ask questions. How do your students access your course again? What hardware and software? And so here's a screenshot of the different tools that we use. Those that don't have accessibility links, as long as you show that in your standards here, you are okay with Quality Matters. But those that do have accessibility links, you provide them for them. And the students actually like this because they want to be able to utilize these resources from various mobile devices. I actually received an email this semester from a student that said, how much of this online course can I do from my iPhone? And I thought, not all of it, but some of it you can. And so I shared this link and said, check these links out. And these are the areas that you can do from your iPhone. So questions before I want to just share with you some best practices before you ask any questions, because I think that these best practices might address some of your questions. One thing, make sure that you provide a course orientation, a getting started quiz, a readiness survey. Those types of things help. Before introducing learning objective, provide links to various institutional resources. Provide clear course goals at the module or topic level. Include activities and assessment that are aligned directly with the objectives. Make sure that they're varied activities. So if you only have 2 activities, if the students are just taking multiple choice quizzes and doing a paper in your course, is that really a good way to assess what you want the students to get from your course? That's one of the things that I think really helped me a lot. Realize varied assignments, smaller assignments. Students appreciated that. There was like scaffolding put in place for the students. Providing sufficient opportunities for students to interact with the instructor and with one another. Some of the students that get to finally meet face-to-face in our online program have said that this course has made them feel like they know each other before they meet face-to-face. So that's always been exciting. Students actually see one another in our EIST program. We have 2 socials, a winter social and a spring social, and sometimes they've only met online or via Skype. And then when they meet face-to-face, they're hugging each other like they've known each other for a year. So it's really bizarre how the design of this course has changed the way that the students interact with one another. And then finally, don't forget to use both synchronous and asynchronous technologies to enhance that interaction and to have those accessibilities and usability links. At this point, I could take questions, and I didn't see any popping up, but maybe I just didn't look at that well.
So I just wanted to reiterate a comment that Bobby made earlier when you were talking about giving the audio feedback using the Poodle plugin. He just says that audio-video feedback is a great strategy for decreasing transactional distance and cultivating a more intimate relationship with students. What kind of feedback did your students give you about that audio feedback, by the way?
I had a lot of, it was interesting because some of the students that I had in one course said that they had never ever even heard their online teacher's voice the whole semester. Other students have said that they never knew their peers as much, but a lot of them, they actually do reflections at the end of the semester, and they've said that they can hear that I care about their learning, and they were more receptive to wanting to please me. They were like, I can tell that you really wanted me to do well. So like, they'll go back and do things and email me and, does this look good? Can you look at it again? Does this meet your expectations? So that's been really good. And I never really realized, just like humor isn't transfer. Yeah, that's one thing that I tell the students early in the semester. Please don't use humor without using the emoticons. And I tell them, some students might think it's unprofessional for me to use the little smiley faces or the little thoughtful looks, but I want them to know that using those emoticons allow us to do our body language that we don't get to do when we're just typing words. And many times we look at somebody's typed messages and we use the attitude that we come to that email that person might send you or that feedback that they might send you. If you're in a bad mood and you read somebody's email, typically you might take it differently than you would if you were in a good mood. So once they learn that I'm a real person on the other end, then they're good to go. I think Bobby's got a question. His hand's up.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so I just wanted to comment. First of all, Patti, thank you so much for your willingness to share with us. I have a course I'm now teaching the second time around, and myself am a Quality Matters reviewer, but I want to put my course through this process for next year. So I really appreciate people like yourself who are willing to share what that process was like for you, and you know, the insights into your success and challenges. I just wanted to note, again, kind of following up on the use of audio and video in the course. I think I've had the same experience as you far too often. Maybe it's human nature to read textual feedback and maybe not in the most positive way, especially as you said, if students don't initially know you in a face-to-face setting, then there is this, I think, tendency to maybe not read feedback and comments as being supportive as it could be. So I've discovered that it does indeed make a huge difference if you don't do it on a regular basis, at least initially, finding ways for them to hear your voice and to associate your tone with the type of feedback that you give. So I just wanted to make that observation and comment.
Well, thank you, Bobby. I know I have had instructors before give me audio feedback and found it helpful, but we didn't have that opportunity in the first version of Moodle as we do now, and so I was doing it through Word or PowerPoint and finding that many of the students weren't even reviewing those. And so at least this way students do see that it's very easy. And I understand if we're using
12 o'clock.
another, sorry, that's my Mac yelling. If we use another learning management system that they might have audio built in as well. I'm not piloting any of the things that we're looking at here at UNCC, but hopefully they do have that.
Yeah, I can just say, Patti, to that end, I'm actually piloting right now Canvas, which is an LMS that we are considering here at Charlotte. And one technique I use on a weekly basis is I give global feedback on their work for a previous module, in which I highlight what are the I call them nuggets of conversations during the week, the unique ways of saying things, the interesting observations, the topics that were perhaps a bit controversial, and then also giving guidance on upcoming assignments and feedback on class assignments, what went well, what didn't go well. And so other LMSs that incorporate this kind of audio feedback and video feedback, I think make our jobs a lot easier and really increase, the sense of community and avoid students feeling like they're just kind of out there in cyberspace.
So I just wanted to give everyone some visual feedback right now as we're nearing the end of our session. So please feel free to enjoy any one or more of these virtual desserts that we have for you. So before we wrap up, I would just like to point out a few upcoming web conferencing webinar events that we have. So you can see on March 16th, Florence Martin will be showcasing her course that she that got the Quality Matters certification. And then we have two upcoming How Do I webinars. On Wednesday, we have one on using learning analytics with clickers, and then later in the month, we have one on how to connect with students using the Starfish system. So thank you all for attending today. We enjoyed having you, and we look forward to seeing you at additional webinars and CTL events. So thanks again, and I'll be sending out the link to the recording later today or tomorrow. So look for that in your email. So thanks again.